Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another product review. And in today's product review, we're going to be taking a look at a micro reflex sight. And this is coming from a company that I've reviewed a few other optics from, GoWutar or GoWutar. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. And this one's really interesting because it's a green reflex sight. But this model, the HHC17, does come in three flavors. You got a red dot, a green dot, and one with multiple reticles. But this is the green dot version. Now, this has a RMSc footprint, and I don't have any pistols that utilize this very small optics footprint. However, I do believe there is a mount in this box for you to put this on a piece of M1913 rail. So I got out an AR-15. We're going to mount this to a riser and take it to the range. And I feel if this reflex sight can handle the recoil of a 5.56 AR-15, it will work perfectly on a pistol. So let's go ahead and adjust the camera. Let's unbox this, see what all the features are, then mount it to this rifle and take it to the range. And here is the box this micro reflex sight comes in from GoWutar. It is the model HHC17, and here it indicates it is the G model for the green dot. On the side we get a little bit more information. It says this has a side loading battery compartment, a shake awake design, a pistol cut RMSc footprint, a 1 MOA per click windage and elevation adjustment. It is waterproof, shockproof, and fog proof. So let's go ahead and open this box up and see what we get. Obviously we get an owner's manual, we get a cleaning cloth. Here is the optic. We also get some extra screws for mounting it to various plates. We get a tool, looks like an Allen wrench, and a battery. So let's go ahead and take off the cover and see what this optic looks like. So here it is. It is branded GoWutar on the side, and as you can see, it also says HHC17G. This is a very small and tiny reflex sight. The glass looks really good. It looks like the adhesive that holds it into the hood is applied very well. The glass is clear. We have the adjustments here on the side and on the top. It is currently on some type of mount to go on a piece of Picatinny rail or M1913 rail. And as I mentioned, I don't have any pistols with this very small footprint, but I do have a little riser which I will put on this AR, and we will mount this to the top so I will still be able to test it at the range. Make sure that it can be easily adjusted, that it holds zero. And I feel like if it can handle the recoil of an AR-15, it's going to be able to handle a pistol just fine. So as you can see, it looks like it's high quality. It looks like it's well built. So let me go ahead and install the battery, and let's see if these adjustments are click adjustments, because that's usually the sign of a quality optic. So I went ahead and used the tool that they provided to unscrew the battery compartment, and then once the screw comes out, you have to pry it out. It doesn't simply just come out. And here is the tray for the battery, and I'll install the battery that they provide. Let's put it back into the sight, put it in, and then let's tighten this screw down, and it is really, really tiny. So I think you want to be careful and not to over torque it. All right, so that battery is now in there. So before we try turning it on, let's go ahead and check out these adjustments. I want to make sure that they are click adjustments, so we're going to use the same tool as well. It should fit in there. And yes, it has click adjustments, and that's really nice because some of these more affordable dots that I review do not have that, and that's a sign of them being cheaply manufactured. All right, so let's take a look at this dot, and maybe I'll be able to get it on camera. I think you might be able to get a little bit of that green. Right there it is, yes. Now, obviously that looks like it's big and fuzzy, but in real life, that dot is very centered. And let me take a look at it and see if it has a little tail. And yes, it does a little bit, but that's because my eyes have a slight astigmatism. But the dot looks very clear and it's very bright. We have lots of adjustments here. Our controls are on the side. I have not yet read the owner's manual, but these dots pretty much all function the same. I'm kind of curious, if you push both buttons, does the dot turn off? And I believe it does. No, it does not. So let's turn it down and let's see if the dot turns off, because with these green dots it's really important to turn them off, because the green dots will run the battery out very fast, because green is a higher frequency of light than red. And yes, you can turn it off simply by turning it all the way down, and then you can just turn it back on by pushing the up button and it's on again. So that is how you turn it on and off. But so far, I really like this dot. It's a little bit too small. I don't have any pistols that will fit it, but let's go ahead and mount it to this AR and see what it looks like. So here's what it looks like mounted to this AR, and with this riser, it looks like it's going to be about the perfect height. It stays on here very secure. So how it mounts to the Picatinny rail works just fine. I don't see any issues with it whatsoever. I really do wish I would have been able to review this on a pistol, but it is nice to have this mounting option. So I see no problem with it. So that's the features of this green dot. So now let's take it to the range and see how it works. And we'll start off with it being unzeroed. We'll test and see how easy it is to zero. Then we'll put a bunch of rounds down range. Just make sure it holds that zero and that we don't have any flickering or any other problems that present themselves. So let's go to the range and have some fun with this green dot. So with this first test, I just wanted to see how easy this green dot could be adjusted. And I have to say, I was able to get it right where I wanted with no issue, with the exception of one thing. The screws for the click adjustments are very tiny. In fact, the smallest screwdriver that I typically keep in my gunsmithing pouch that I take to the range all the time was actually too big for it. I had to come back home and get a small watchmaking screwdriver that would fit it. I kind of feel like those adjustments could be a little bit bigger. I understand this is a very small dot, but the adjustments need to be big enough that could be accessed by a standard tool that most people would have. But the click adjustments work just fine. I was able to dial it in with no problem. Something else that really surprised me is, even though this is a micro red dot, I kind of feel like the field of view is plenty big for an AR-15 like this. I know this is really designed more for a semi-automatic pistol, but some people might mount this to the top of their scope and use it as a backup optic. And it actually works. I was kind of surprised about that. I kind of thought it would be too small, but the field of view is just fine. And as you saw, I was able to get that dot right on the center of the target. So I'm pretty darn happy and very surprised. So now the next test I want to do is make sure there is no flickering with this dot. And I'm going to assume that because this dot is really designed for semi-automatic pistols where that slide is going to reciprocate, we're not going to have any issues. And all of the other optics from this company that I have reviewed have been pretty high quality. But of course, I do want to test this. I want to shoot this gun fast, make sure it's easy to stay on target with this small red dot, or in this case, a green dot, and that smaller field of view, and just make sure it continues to run well and see if I discover anything else about it that I like or don't like, and I'll report back to you. And as expected, I had no issues with it whatsoever. There was no flickering. I was able to keep the dot on target even though it has that smaller field of view, and the optic remains securely mounted to the rail. So it seems to be a high quality micro red dot, and that's in line with all of the other optics I have reviewed from GoWutar. Alright, so the next test I want to do is set out the target at 25 yards. I'm going to use the bipod on this AR, see what the best group I can get with it is. Then I'm going to do a mag dump through this rifle and see if it adjusts the zero at all, if the mount becomes loose, and then shoot another 5-round group at that 25-yard distance and see if that group changes any. So let's go back to the range and make sure this thing can hold zero under stress. And as you can see from those results, we had no change in the zero whatsoever. It seems to be securely mounted, and it does not seem to be affected by the recoil of this rifle. I sure do wish I had a semi-automatic pistol that was set up for this type of footprint, but unfortunately I don't. But I can easily say that all of the other optics that I have reviewed from this company that I do have mounted to pistols have worked just fine. And some of them are still on those pistols when I take them to the range all the time, and they have just simply worked great. This is just a smaller version of those optics, and it seems to be just as durable and well built. I'm also really impressed with all of the different illumination settings. My range typically has low light conditions, and sometimes trying to find that perfect setting can be difficult, but I had no issues with this. This gives you tons of options, the controls are easy to use, and it seems to be well built. So on my star system, how would I rate the GoWutar HHC17G? Well, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 stars. It does what it's supposed to do, especially for its price point. Now, how would this hold up against a Trijicon RMR? Well, it might do okay, but if you're looking for the absolute best go-to-war optic, look at those brands. But if you're looking for something that's going to be durable and just take on range trips for plinking, this might be a great option. The glass is clear, the dot is also clear, you have tons of illumination settings, and it seems to hold zero. So overall, I'm very pleased with this performance. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Have you ever used a green dot or a red dot that was this small? This is honestly the first micro dot I've ever reviewed. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with it. And if I was going to run it on an AR-15, I think it would work just fine. So, as always, thanks for watching.